great to see you. It is lovely to be here inside on a Monday. I'm just a little bit too warm, so I'm taking a layer off. It's actually a little damp outside, so it means we get to be here with the rocks. And this is the first one that jumped into my head and said, I want to play today. This is calcite, and look at how beautifully it catches the light. It's not bright outside, but this is just beautiful for a day like this. And look, if I put my hand and, catches the light. Morning, Alicia. Morning, Marianne. Morning, Julian. It's lovely to see you. Charlotte, good morning, beautiful. We're all here together. Look at this. You can see the line through this stone, which I really enjoy, and then this one as well. You can just see the structure of it, and I love that. I love how it sparkles. It's just beautiful. Beautiful for a grey day. It catches the light. Look, you can see the windows. Nothing missing, and it makes it look like a shiny sunny day out there, but trust me, it's not. Now we have this lovely piece of kyanite, which is quite possibly looks turquoise to you, right? Because the internet and screens and how things get rendered looks weird. Elaine, good morning. Emily, good morning. Chris, good morning. It's lovely to see you all. So we're just enjoying this kyanite, which has got a bit of its own matrix running through the middle. And it's very much blue. So if it looks turquoise, you just have to translate it. Dochia, it is lovely to see you. We're all here together enjoying the rocks because it's damp outside. Not exactly raining. It rains on and off, but that means we get to be inside because the Wi-Fi don't work too well in the rain, and I don't like having rain blowing in my eyes. So, here we have this gorgeous thing. And you can see it's a relative of mica because of these long blades, and it's kind of shiny like mica is too. Kyanite, it's beautiful. Got lots of things that reflect the light today. This one, every time I remember that, I don't know what it's called. Some kind of jasper, I guess. And it's lovely. It sort of looks like a dragon's egg that's been all polished off. Nesreen, morning, beautiful. Oh, I'm glad you're looking forward to the topic, Emily. It came out of Friday. It was just really obvious that we need to talk about it. And I think somebody actually asked a question, or I don't know. Friday was like a year ago. So right now we're just doing this little, it always makes me think of leopard skin, right? It's not. And goodness me, leopard skin belongs on the leopard, but isn't it lovely? It's beautiful. Things that get created in the earth. And last but not least, very simple, this is quartz, right? It's a point that's been tumble polished, and it's just shiny and beautiful, and you can see that it had flat faces, and it's gorgeous. What do you need? It's a beautiful, shiny, refractive thing. So today, the topic, right? What do you do when you're changing and the people around you don't like it? And why don't they like it, right? Because they're used to you being who they're used to you being. And if you change your game, right, because you play, it's like walking onto a tennis court with a person. And I use this metaphor, analogy, whatever it is, a lot. They're used to you hitting your balls in a particular way. They're used to you occupying certain parts of the court more than certain other parts of the court. They're used to how close you come to the net to get a particular shot. They're used to how you are. And their game fits with your game. Their way of being abusive or demanding or pathetic or guilt-tripping. Hi, Sharon! Because it's not just the abusers, right? It's the sort of other half of it as well. Or the victim, or the powerless person, or the bitter or angry person, whatever it is, their way of being how they are, at the present moment, if you like, unless you've just changed it, fits with what they're used to you being. And if you start to hit your backhand differently, they have to adapt. And when you have to adapt, your brain has to forge new connections, and there is always resistance to change, because of all the biological conditioning and the neurological superhighways that are in the brain about I am like this and don't you ask me to change because I know how to fire and wire this. I don't know how to fire and wire anything else. And so there's resistance. What do you mean you're hitting your ball to the left of the court instead of the right? How dare you? And more than a resistance, it's like, oh my God, I'm actually, when the bad behaviour that you're trying to meet as a more elevated human, however that is, actually escalates in the face of you choosing to do and be something different. That is why. That's what's happening. That person, that situation, that team, that whatever, and it's more than people, your body even sometimes, is saying, I don't want to change. How dare you ask me to be different? How dare you? Sharon, good morning. How dare you? And they get pissed off. And and people who've been used to you being small and being walked over and being, particularly the so-called abusers, Michelle, good morning. But remember, it's a 50-50. We actually have to let them do that. And sometimes it's so powerful that all you can do is leave, right? But whatever, I'll talk about what you might do about it in a minute, I hope, later. They're used to it being a certain way, and when you change the dynamic, the more they've been accustomed to that relationship, affirming them being who they want to feel about themselves. Maybe the only way they can feel even slightly powerful is by keeping you suppressed. Common bullying thing, right? Remember, bullies are always scared. Bullies have always been bullied or hurt or dehumanized or whatever themselves. It doesn't come from nowhere. People aren't born like that. So that might be bullying you. Let's stick with this example. Might be the only way they get to feel even remotely okay, which is not an excuse to keep in that dynamic, right? It's not at all. But if you realize that when you stop being the bullied person and start walking into more empowerment and start claiming your space and start deciding how you want to be treated and start treating that person with more respect, which they don't know what to do with, by the way. They only know how to be bullied or to be a bullier. That's it. They don't know anything in between. So when you try to meet them somewhere different, a lot of the time, I can't say all the time, but often, they're going to say, I don't know what to do. I'm scared. I have to fight this. And they will try very, very hard to push you back into the place where they know what to do with you. Because that's familiar to them. That is security. That is the painful safety that they are used to. And it's like, here I am trying to treat you with love and kindness, and you just keep shitting on me because you want me to go back to being this scared, miserable person, which they may even actually be saying, no, I don't want you to be scared and miserable, but actually that's their mind talking. Their body is saying, I feel threatened when you even ask me to respect you, because of course I don't know how to do that because I don't know how to love and respect myself, right? It's this cyclic thing. So if you understand that when you are creating this change in your life, the more somebody reacts against it and resists it and tries to push you back into the old shape, the more it means that they are so scared by the fact that you've changed. It's like they need you to be the way you were. And also remember, for a long time you needed you to be the way you were because it was how you knew to be. But now you've decided you're going to be somebody different and you're getting to know that new person. And they have to get to know that new person as well. But the difference is that they don't want to. They're going to resist it because it's just, it's instinctive, it's evolutionary. I am safe here in my cave with my spears and my guard dogs and seeing everything new as a threat. Because everything new is a threat when you're living in a cave and the tribe next door might want this cave because it's better than theirs. Just remember, this is the survival brain and the survival chemistry which makes a person, you and me included, very selfish when it goes off. Because if you're running on stress hormones, think of the gazelle that's being chased by a cheetah. The only thing the gazelle is interested in is preserving the body, where they're going to go to get away from the cheetah, and how long it's going to take to get there. Julie, good morning. It's great to see you. So that situation is actually what is happening in the mind and the body of somebody who is resisting like mad when you are trying to improve yourself. They are scared. They start to perceive you as a threat because you're different. You're a change in their world, and you could be a Tyrannosaurus Rex that wants to eat them. They no longer recognize you. They no longer know what to do with you. And so suddenly you're a threat. It's like, get back where I know what to do with you. And, they might turn on more aggression, or they might turn on more guilt trips. They might get more victimized if you're the person who's been enabling somebody's victimhood, and then you don't want to enable their victimhood anymore, and you realize, oh gee, I've been enabling, and then you decide not to, and you step back and let them have a consequence of their action, for example, or let them, or decide not to have them guilt trip you anymore, and then they really turn it on, because of course they don't know how to do anything else, and they want you to come back and be in that familiar place that they're so used to being in, which at least, it's not fun, but at least they know who they are and what to do. That's what's going on with that resistance, and it can be intense. And particularly if you're the person that's been the kind of aggressor or the dominator or, the powerful person, and you're wanting to be something other than the doormat, and this can be men too. Don't think that I'm talking about men and women here. It can absolutely be the other way around. It can be in a work situation, can be in a relationship where it looks, oh yeah, men have this too, okay? Very, very, I don't want to go past that. So then what do, right? And the first thing I want to say is there's no quick fix blanket answer, because everybody's situation is different. Tracy, good morning. Oh, Mandy, you know about this. Tracy has amazing skills working with people in these kinds of situations. Not that she does it now, but she used to, and she has amazing head of knowledge about it. And, it's just, there is no quick fix and there is no one answer. For somebody who's being slugged on the side of the head by an abusive spouse, you would think the answer would be obvious. Get the hell out of there. But it's amazing how many of them stay. And we've all, most of us at least are aware of what happens in that person's mind, where they also are stuck in this cycle of having this stuff happen to them, and then the person apologises, and they kind of stay for the kiss and make up afterwards, and then it goes round and round and round, and everybody just knows how that works. It's a game, it's a cycle, it's a pattern, and everybody understands it. And that's why it keeps on going, because the fear of going to something else can be immense. Suzette, good morning. Can be enormous fear of, what am I going to do? And never mind the logistical and practical things of leaving a situation like that. I know that, women, for example, because it is often women, but not always by any means, women who are caught in that kind of situation can think, well, okay, I really need to leave this. I'm getting beaten up. My kids are witnessing violence and all of that. But, I've got no money. My partner has everything in a stranglehold. I have nothing. How the hell do I get out of here? And there's so many logistical barriers to them creating change that they're sort of paralysed by that for a while. Can be for a very long while, until they start to, there's some degree of determination that happens, or some degree of decision, and it's often about the children, I think, and I have not been there. I'm just kind of extrapolating. It's like, this has to change. It has to get better for my kids. Children are often a reason why people will just reach out of their comfort zone for something new. And to think, well, if I'm going to get my kids out of this, is there a shelter? Is there some social assistance? Is there somewhere I can go? And they start to think, they actually, beyond saying, oh my God, this is awful, this is bad, I'll never get out of here, they start to think, what if I can get out of here? And I'm reminded of something I heard Joe Dispenza talk about. One of his heroes is Nelson Mandela. And Nelson Mandela spent 10 years in prison for being who he was and thinking, I'll never get out of here. And, I'm beginning to think I need to read the autobiography. One day he had a different thought. He thought, what if I can get out of here? He'd never had that thought before. It never occurred to him that it was possible. So possibility has to enter the thinking. And then he started, from that sponsoring thought, he started doing different things. So, I think if you're in any kind of prison, and it doesn't matter what it is, the first thought you have to have is, well, what if I can create change? What if this actually can change? And of course, I don't know how, because I only know how to be where I've been, right? We kind of get, because we're so used to knowing how everything functions in our lives, that when we want to do something that's outside of the box, that's new, we kind of beat ourselves up for not knowing how to make that happen. But you don't know, because it's new. I mean, here's a fact that I've learned from Joe Dispenza. By the time you're 35, you know how everything's going to feel, because you've experienced it all. Think about it. For the normal sort of situation, you've grown up, you've been to school, you've got some kind of living arrangement, whether you bought a house or you rent or whatever, you have some kind of spousal arrangement, whether you do or you don't. It's tended to have settled. You know what relationships are like, you know what work is like, you know what everything is like, you know what things you like to do and what things you don't like to do. You're really familiar with everything in your life. And so by the time you're 35, 95% of everything is just automatic, familiar. And and he says this, and it's very true, we're so set in our ways that if the unknown was actually going to come along, some aliens land in your backyard or something, you probably say to them, hey, look, can you come back tomorrow? The Wheel of Fortune's on tonight. Because we're so in our patterns. It's inconvenient to do something new, to create a new experience, to live something different, because it requires change, and we resist it too. And there's another thing which just comes to me, that if you're in this dynamic with a relationship where the other person is resisting your change like mad, also realize that on a quantum level, that resistance that person is demonstrating is entangled with your own resistance to your own change. Because nothing is separate. They're not out there doing it to you. At core, we relate it all. We create it all the time. So it's an interesting thing realizing, oh my goodness, this person is kicking up a stink because in my own self, this is my resistance to change. So that's why there's no magic, you should do this or you should do that or whatever. But you really have to start paying attention. You have to open the door to possibility and think, well, what if it could be different? And I know a lot of you have done that. And then to think, okay, if this resistance is there because I'm still tugging and having a tugging of war inside myself, which we often do. It's like, oh, I want to be that, but I still, that I'm still attached to this, or I'm still scared of that, or, whatever. To realize that as you continue to move towards being that person that you want to be and figuring it out and getting to know that person and practicing being that person, and I'm doing all of that every day. Desi Slava, good morning. The resistance will drop, because it's easy to say, oh, that person is, putting all this pressure on me. And they do, because you changed the game, right? But also, if you own that you are the creator of everything in your life, deep breath, then somehow something in me must be kind of keeping this resistance with that person going. So, and it's not even how am I doing that? That's often not a particularly useful question to ask. I mean, sometimes you think, oh, I know how I'm doing that. But more often, I keep coming back to, because we tend to go into analysis. I want to figure this out. I want to control this. I want to work this out. Oh my God, is that so what I have been doing? Really realizing this in the last week. What's much more useful is, who am I when that resistance isn't there? when I'm so empowered or so clear or so abundant or so wealthy or so healthy or so in love with life or so in love with another person or whatever it is, so free, or I'm so in that new home with my kids and there's no threats around, who am I when I am that? And that is the question, like Nelson Mandela thinking, well, what if I could get out? Of course he's starting to think about who he is when he's got out. And who he is when he's on the journey to getting out. And that's what we have to do. You got to be more in love with your future than you are with your past. And believe me, when the past is in front of you and around you and all through you and it's saying, this is impossible, you can't change this, you have to make a very deep decision. I don't care what it takes. I don't care that I don't know how. I've had enough of trying to analyze it all and figure it out. I'm going to do this. And there has to be an answer. There has to be a way, and I don't need to be able to see it. I'm just going to take one step today towards it. Because there's something I can do today. And it's always something we can do today. There's always someone I can become, behave like, embody today. Just because we can't see the whole journey, just because we can't even see the first step, doesn't mean that you can't embody something in yourself. Nobody can take your mind from you. Nobody can take your heart from you. You have the power within yourself to become somebody different today, right in the middle of your life. Say nothing. Do nothing. Just feel it. It's a very, very powerful thing to do. Because when you feel it, you're going to behave differently anyway. And it sometimes encounters the least resistance. It's to simply change your energy. Because when you change your energy, to quote my dear beloved Joe Dispenza, you change your life. And I've seen it over and over in my own, and I know it's true. So, there we go. We are out of time. I have the clock handy when I'm not wandering around the garden. I can see. It's an amazing, amazing time to be alive. Thank you so much for joining me. And in case you're wondering why I haven't quite translated my profile into a page yet, it's because there's a few things I need to tick off. It's happening, just not quite yet. So I'm going to enjoy being Maddie the profile for a little bit longer, and then we'll be changing, making space for growth. Thank you so much for joining with me. I'd love to know what you think. Facebook hasn't shown me any of your comments, but that means I get to respond to them properly in writing later. So big love. I'll see you tomorrow.